if we lose comm between Ascension, LOS, and TDRS, you are no-go for the burn.
Okay, Fred, we copy. If we lose comm, we are no-go for the burn.
That's affirmed. You have 2,000 scattered, 3,200 broken, 12,000 overcast down there now, 60 degrees, 59 on the dew point, and the winds are calm.
Okay, Fred, we copy that. Thanks.
That did not constitute a no-go. The advisory to the crew simply says that if you lose comm and are unable to give a go, no-go through TDRS, they are to consider it a no-go, but we're still looking at it, and it looks as though we may go right up to the ragged edge. This view on NASA Select now shows Kennedy Space Center.
Houston.
Houston, Columbia, go ahead, Fred.
Okay, guys, we're going to do a one-orbit extension. We're going to go to inwards, and I have your maneuver paths and del paths when you're ready to copy. Hope you can find some empty sheets.
Oh.
The burn should now be underway, and data in the control center shows both OMS engines operating smoothly. Propulsion Systems Officer indicates that the burn looks good according to his data, and we show chamber pressures at 105% in both OMS engines, and both engines appear to be running smoothly. This is a 2 OMS engine burn, a wasting burn, out of plane thrust vector angle of 29 degrees, and the duration of the burn will be 3 minutes 55 seconds. And we should be able to see virtually the entire burn before we go LOS TDRS, although we may get some ragged data toward the end of the signal as we approach the fringes of TDRS coverage. Burn continues to look very smooth. This is, again, a wasting burn, out of plane burn, intended to dump about 1,000 pounds of OMS propellants. And also prior to landing, the forward RCS tanks will be dumped to zero also. Those actions to improve the orbiter's center of gravity and to bring the landing weight down to vicinity of 210,000 pounds. The burn's still in progress. Engines, both OMS engines, apparently running very smoothly. The single APU that's operating now is also running smoothly. Temperatures and pressures look very good. The remaining 2 APUs will be fired up after conclusion of the OMS burn. Continues to look good. We're about a minute away from LOS through TDRS. Propulsion Systems Officers both assure Flight Director that the burn looks good from the data standpoints that are available to them. And the communications model indicates we should be out of range in TDRS in 30 seconds. That real-world experience with the TDRS coverage is sometimes plus or minus as much as a minute, and we still appear to be getting good, strong data through the TDRS system and indicating that the burn's continuing and continuing well. And Propulsion Systems Officer. Propulsion Systems Officer and Guidance Officers both report a good burn. We did see the burn all the way to conclusion and saw nominal shutdown. Targets look good, engine performance looked very good, so we can expect a nominal entry and a nominal deorbit added out of that burn, and entry and landing at Edwards in slightly less than an hour, 59 minutes from now. The burn shut off on time at after 3 minutes 55 seconds of operation, and both Ohm's engines operated smoothly throughout that session. The burn again designed to burn 1,000 pounds of Ohm's propellant, bringing body weight down to 210,000 pounds. Flight director now getting additional updates on weathers and wind at Edwards Air Force Base. Next AOS with the ship will be through Guam, and we should pick that up in 19 minutes. At mission elapsed time 6 days, 1 hour, 5 minutes, 58 minutes from landing at Edwards. This is Mission Control, Houston. This Mission Control Houston, NASA selected video now showing the landing facility at Edwards, runway 22, being lit by the 800 million candle power xenon lights. We're making voice checks now between Mission Control and the convoy team at Edwards. They're sharing communication between the flight director and the flight controllers and the convoy team that'll go out and save the orbiter during power down. We'll have voice through Guam in 3.5 minutes, and forecasted touchdown at Edwards in 43 minutes.
Columbia, Houston, configure AOS.
Hello, Houston. Fred, you're loud and clear. We had a good burn on time. No tick slip.
Roger. Sounds good to me. There is no hydraulic fluid thermal conditioning required, as you probably already know.
Okay, thank you, Fred. We were going to double check that with you.
NASA select video now showing the control room at Dryden Space Flight Center and Edwards Air Force Base. This Mission Control Houston, this video from Dryden now showing one of our shuttle training aircraft, a modified Gulfstream 2, flying approaches into runway 22. The Gulfstream is modified so that it duplicates the flight characteristics of the orbiter and flies in what would essentially be the orbiter's flight path. And the purpose of the ship is to get last winds, visibility, and weather data. Looking for any changes or any information that might assist the crew and Commander Hoot Gibson in their approach to the facility in roughly 9 minutes from now. The Mission Control, we have entry interface was programmed to occur, and we should now be in the period of S-band blackout. approximately, roughly within 15 minutes, we should have the orbiter data and voice again.
Columbia, Houston, Charlie.
Go ahead, Fred.
Roger, we'd like the water spray boiler for APU 1, power heater controller 1 to Bravo, and then bring up the water spray boiler.
Okay, we're bringing it to Bravo.
Now on video. And we show touchdown at mission elapsed time, 6 days, 2 hours, minutes, 9 seconds. Speed at touchdown, roughly 195 knots. All onboard systems look very good. The entire approach and landing process was very nominal, right on the programmed flight path through virtually every instant of the approach.
Houston, Columbia, we got wheel stop.
Welcome back to Earth, you seasoned space veterans. We're working on your deltas.
Roger that, Houston. Season by an extra 2 days.
Mission lapse time to touchdown once again is unofficially 6 days, 2 hours, 4 minutes.
Houston, post-landing per procedures, no deltas.
Copy that, Fred.
Repeating unofficial mission lapse time again, 6 days, 2 hours, 4 minutes, 9 seconds. And the sense of relief here among the entry control team is probably very similar to what was experienced in the Launch Control Center 6 days ago when Columbia was launched after 4 successive delays.
Columbia, Houston, the hydraulic load test is not required.
The hammering sound effects from Dryden are the APUs operating. Video showing the control center at Dryden, the convoy control center. There's not enough daylight or light, artificial light out yet to show the convoy operations by the orbiters. Things will be set up at that location soon, and we will be able to show some video of the safing operations, and additionally we think that it'll be daylight by the time we have crew egress there for us to get the video of landing the safing operations. The shuttle training aircraft at Dryden, piloted by veteran astronaut Dan Brandenstein, has landed, and he will be the NASA representative greeting the crew on behalf of the mission, or the Flight Crew Operations Directorate when the crew egresses. And it now appears likely that egress will also be in the dark and before sunrise. But we should have lights around the ship to illuminate the egress and provide video of it.
complete with our deactivation steps. Are we going to have a change-out crew?
Columbia, Houston, Mark Brown should be out there on a surgeon.
Oh, okay. Tally ho. Thank you.
We want to just check its status.
Okay, Fred, I think I did. Did you see something I missed?
We missed the gas gen fuel pump and the lube oil line. Go ahead.
Fred, we are about to leave COM and depart the orbiter. I want to thank the ascent and entry team and, geez, all the teams for all the great work they did for us. You guys really pulled us through.
Well, we certainly appreciate your comments, and you all did a marvelous job up there.
Thank you, Fred. See you back in Houston.
Roger.
Home.
Roger, Mark.
This is Mission Control Houston. We're standing by for crew egress. The crew has clearly left their seats and routinely go through a cursory trek with the flight surgeon on board the ship just immediately prior to access. We expect to see him momentarily.
CDR.
Go ahead, Fred.
Roger, on page 5-20 of the entry checklist, we would like the ammonia deactivation, please.
Understand.
Columbia crew now leaving the ship. They are in order. Mission Commander Hoot Gibson, Pilot Charles Bolden, Mission Specialists George Nelson, Steve Hawley, and Franklin Chang-Diaz, and Payload Specialists Bob Cenker and Congressman Bill Nelson being greeted at the foot of the stairs by the senior NASA representative there, veteran astronaut Dan Brandine. Coincidentally, Brandon Stein was the capsule communicator for the ascent of Columbia on STS-1, the first head of the Space Shuttle. Now, 7 flights later, he gets to visit the ship, and having made 2 space flights himself, 1 as commander.
And welcome to the post-landing press briefing for 61C. We always plan these for the landing area, which is where we are. We have with us to tell you about the mission and answer any questions Jess Moore, who is Associate Administrator of Space Flight at NASA headquarters, and Bob Seek, who is the Director of Shuttle Operations here at the Kennedy Space Center. Mr. Moore?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're very pleased that Columbia is home, and after completing what I consider a very successful mission, we're glad to see her back. We tried to bring her into the Kennedy Space Center this morning, but weather call was a no-go, and so we landed in the pre-dawn time out at Edwards. I think from what we could see and what I've heard, the landing was a very, very smooth landing, and as you probably heard on the net, we were not working any post-landing anomalies following the landing. Columbia's successful landing this morning completes the 24th mission in the shuttle program, and I believe the mission achieved about 90% of its objectives. We had a variety of different cargo on board this flight. Principal cargo element was the RCA SATCOM satellite. That was deployed on time, very successful, and to my knowledge, the RCA SATCOM satellite is operating very, very well now, heading toward its station in geosynchronous orbit. It was the second flight of the RCA SATCOM and the second Burnham D2 upper stage. In addition to that, we also had on board the Material Sciences Lab. We met all the system objectives of the Material Sciences Lab, but did have some problems with the experiments on board. We also had a hitchhiker payload on board, and everything was quite successful on the hitchhiker. The Getaway Special Bridge was quite successful as well. And the UVX experiment that we also had on board, I think, essentially did its objectives. We did have some difficulty with the Chang experiment, which was the Comet Halley imaging experiment, and we've agreed to some reflights of that to see if we had the data that we had set out to get Chang. I think one of the things is I have listened over the past week or so that I was kind of disappointed in it, and I didn't hear enough positive press coverage about how well Columbia was performing. You know, I realize that Columbia has been down for over 2 years now and going through a major modification. A lot of work was done in changing out and upgrading the electronics on Columbia, and I'm extremely pleased at the way Columbia's performed on it. We essentially worked no major anomalies on board, and the flight crew really had an easy time in terms of operating Columbia. And we're very pleased now that all 4 of our birds are in a state of highly operational condition at this point in time. And that was one of the major challenges that, in my mind, prior to starting out to attempt to launch Columbia, that we were concerned about, is to make sure we had a very good after the major mod on Columbia. You heard the call coming in. As I said, the landing was very smooth. We did get a lot of the objectives on this flight, and now we're turning our attention to the next missions and the attention of trying to get Columbia back to Kennedy just as quickly as we can. We did use all the opportunities available to us on this mission for landing here, the 3 days attempts that we had on Friday, Saturday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday mornings, and we're unsuccessful in getting the weather to cooperate with us here and coming in. And as you know, we have to make that weather call about an hour and a half in advance of the actual touchdown, and our weather flight teams that were out looking at the weather on all 3 days indicated a no-go condition. So we gave it every opportunity we could to get it back into the Cape. Tomorrow, opportunity would show a nighttime landing here at Kennedy. I told you earlier, we are not prepared to commit to a nighttime here at Kennedy until we've done some more tests on the nose wheel steering, which was on this particular bird, and we were planning to use back into Kennedy. That's all I've got to say up now, Bob. You want
to? Okay. As well as we knew that 86 was going to be a challenging year, and the landing at Edwards for the first mission is certainly going to increase the degree of difficulty that we have in front of us, but we do not see it as an impact to our plan for the year of the manifest. In the near term, for the next mission of Columbia, For the Astro flight, we're taking a hard look at the turnaround activities. The key is always the orbiter processing facility flow. We're looking at work content of the requirements there, and in particular to check out some of the modifications and the work in the payload bay. And we're going to take a hard look at that. On the positive side, as just indicated, the Columbia looks real good from the standpoint of monitoring the system performance in flight and what we've seen so far on the ground. Again, we still have all the inspections to go through, particularly the tile, and we have the checkout process. But we certainly have that going for us. We're looking to have a 46 workday processing flow to meet the March 6th launch date for Astro, and now it looks like it's going to have to be done in approximately 41 days to meet that as the target. So March 6th, although it's the target date, would have to be looked at as a no later than date at this point, but we're certainly going to try for it. This particular processing occurs during that period of time here when we have a lot of significant activity going on. We've got Atlantis rolling out to the pad in another 10 days to get ready for the Galileo flow, and there's a major test in February, which is the tanking, the first Centaur tanking. That's going to take a lot of effort from the team. We're getting the Discovery vehicle ready to ship to Vandenberg, and we want to give them a clean 100% all-up bird. That's going to take a lot of activity, and of course with the next one, the launch next weekend, and that looks good still for a 25th launch date, and the turnaround of that vehicle Challenger for its ULIS flow. So a lot of activity. The plate is full, so to speak, but then we knew it would be. We have quite a challenge, but we expect to meet it.
Okay, thank you. We're ready for questions. If I don't call on you by name, give your name and affiliation. Start with Craig Cavalt from Asian Week.
Will you be able to
Ladies and gentlemen, as manager of the Biden Flight Research Facility, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Commander Gibson and his crew from the Space Shuttle Columbia.
Thank you, Mr. Knudsen. Well, we have just had one terrific experience flying on the flagship Columbia, which was first in our line of shuttle. It's been on the ground for the last 2 years, and it was just a wonderful machine. We couldn't have been happier with the way that Columbia performed. It sure took us a number of tries to get up there, and then it sure took us a number of tries to get back down, but it was all completely worth it. I'd like to introduce at this point Charlie Bolden, who was making his first flight, who was my pilot and really took great care of me and kept me from screwing up a number of times. And let Charlie give you his observations on his first trip into space.
I guess the only thing I can say is that it was everything that that I thought it was going to be, and probably a lot more. I anticipated a lot of, I guess, bad things about going into a totally new environment, and I really enjoyed it, had a great time. I enjoyed working with Hoot and the crew. I could not have asked to come back to Earth with a better pilot. I think everybody in the crew would agree that. You know, if we had to come back and land in any kind of adverse conditions or night or anything, I couldn't think of anybody I'd rather do it with than Hoot. And he lived up to all of our expectations, and that's about it. Thanks to all of you for coming at such short notice. And now I'd like to introduce to you MS-1 Pinky Nelson.
Thanks, Charlie. Well, this was my second time into space, and this was my second time to do a weather abort into this beautiful air facility that we've got out here at Edwards. It's always a pleasure to come back to California, and it certainly is a pleasure to fly with this crew. It's really an outstanding bunch of folks, and to fly on Columbia. Columbia truly is an amazing flying machine that lived up to everything we expected from it this time and more. Now here's MS-2 Steve Hawley.
I guess this is also my second time to land here. Once was planned, and I'd like to thank all the people here for taking such good care both times. Pinky's experience and mine together may have jinxed the flight a little bit. They've been joking with the last month or so because I have more aborts trying to launch than anybody else in the program, and I think Pinky's got more deorbit wave-offs than anybody in the program, and so I'm not sure how they ever got both of us off the ground and then back safely, but it took an outstanding crew headed by Hoot to make that all happen, and it's a great crew, and I was proud to be a part of it, and I'd like to thank them for being so good, and thank you for coming out, and I'd like to introduce MS-3, Franklin Chang-Diaz.
Thank you for coming out to receive us. It was really a wonderful experience. It was all I had expected it would be, and much more, like Charlie said. And most of all, I think it was a privilege and an honor for me to get to fly with this bunch of guys who will make it all seem so easy. And I'm glad to be back, and thank you again for coming to us in such short notice.
Hi, I'm Bob Cenker. I'm the quote-unquote PS1. And as a visitor to the NASA organization, I can say to these people here and to the entire NASA organization and to the crew especially, thank you for accepting me as a part of a team that, as far as I'm concerned, does as outstanding a job as can be done in an extremely challenging and interesting area. I enjoyed it every bit as much as I expected it to. And I just again like to thank everyone. Finally, we've got our resident Congressman, Bill Nelson.
Well, NASA wanted me to learn a lot about NASA. And I didn't realize that I was going to have all the experience that I've had of 4 tries to get up and 3 tries to get down. And I can say, after having had this marvelous experience, that it is a truly great organization, America's space team. Particularly to have the pleasure of being with these gentlemen for 6 days in space and all the 2 months of training, that's my cue. They want me to stop talking. To see this magnificent flying machine and to experience how all of this is integrated in the training and the redundancies that are built into the system is a story that I can take back to my colleagues in Congress, and I'm planning to do that and to share that with them at great length. I thank all of you in America's space team, both the government and the private sector, for this opportunity. Thank you.
Well, let me say thank you to all of you for coming out also, and I want to thank the great people at Dryden who supported us in our landing here today, and the people here at Edwards Air Force Base who made all these wonderful facilities that got us down to this dark lake bed and down to this dark runway to come back here today. Thank you very much.